podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
It's only a game, or should I say, it's only a video game. On the show tonight is Matt, and our very special guest, author Karl Newton. Hello, Karl.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, and of course, hi Matt. It's you again. Yeah,
you right?
Good.
Yeah. This is standard for us. Yeah, that's all right. Give Karl the floor. It's not a problem.
Yeah, we're here to talk about your book.
I've got my custom-made Swanford Town shirt on, made from the description in the book. Basically, the book's about a kid who, I suppose like many of us, he's played every version of a Football Manager game, and he absolutely loves that world, and he thinks he's an absolute guru, and decides to apply for a job at a real-life football club when it comes up. Ends up being a really eccentric young chairman who decides, you know what, I want to make a name for this club, so yeah, I'll give the kid a chance. What's the worst that could happen? Adam, the protagonist, is drafted into Swanford Town, who are 3 points from safety with 4 games of the season remaining in the top flight. So he walks into absolute bedlam from day one, especially because it's not the done thing. So, as I'm sure we would do, and other podcasters would do, and media and fans and players, outraged, absolutely outraged, and he gets it from day one. So yeah, it follows his journey on whether he can keep them up or not, and there's loads of little things that happen along the way, including a really sinister threat that becomes about more than just football, and yeah, it chronicles the journey of trying to keep the club up.
It sounds almost a bit like, remember Dream Team back in the day, Manchester United?
I've been watching them for inspiration.
That sounds like a Dream Team thing. Yeah, it's far. It's like
Swanford Town were a club that they've got a decent history. They've not really ever won much, but you know, they're a small town club with a massive following. The club is everything in that town, more or less, Northern English town, and essentially they almost went bankrupt years ago, a couple of decades ago. And they were bought by a local businessman who sold his factory that he'd had for decades, and he'd employed generations of the townspeople and stuff. Sold that, bought the club bankrupt, and then built it up into the top flight division. They've had a stable manager for 10, 15 years, but it's kind of naturally come to an end, his tenure. The club are obviously on the brink of relegation, so they've dismissed him. And as a caveat to that, the owner of decades who built it up actually dies very suddenly. So his only son, who's a bit of a social media influencer himself and a bit of a playboy type figure, inherits the club. And, you know, the media brand him as playing football clubs free and easy. He's not really got a clue what he's doing. And that's only affirmed by the appointment of Adam Wells, in their opinion. And yeah, it's whether he can keep the club up, and you know, the club's in a bit of a precarious situation in terms of finances. Scott Brewer, the chairman's made a couple of early door decisions that have put him in a bit of jeopardy because he doesn't really have a clue what he's doing. And the gist of it is, if the club ends up going down, they're in very grave danger financially, and if they do manage to survive, that they certainly won't be the same club that they are now. So it's about more than, I suppose, keeping Swanford up. It's also about keeping Swanford as a club, really.
Yeah, keeping them afloat and keeping them part of the community.
Massive
and
part of the
else.
community. It's more or less the lifeblood of the town, you know. It's a small, you can imagine a small northern town. They've got a family-owned bakery that's been there years, a family-owned butchers, a little news agents, a couple of little shops, lots of residential. Yeah, it's not a massive town by all stretches.
with real life. I think it's fantastic how you've drawn upon that. But to bring it back to yourself, what inspired you? You've always, I believe, wanted to be an author.
Yeah.
One of your aims in life. What inspired you to, first of all, be an author, and secondly, to write about this particular kind of story?
Well, the author bit, I've always had a really sort of vivid imagination, and I looked at some old school reports last week, and I've always liked writing little stories and stuff. And I've always said to myself, I've done poems and songs and bits and pieces, but I've always said I'd like to actually sit down and do a novel, like tick it off the list. And I've always procrastinated, and life's got in the way. But I turned 40 back in April, and I decided I'm going to have a year of doing a load of stuff I said I'm always going to do. So yeah, sat down and started writing. Didn't know if I'd get it finished, if it'd be any good, but here we are. And I suppose it's inspired by my love of Football Manager and the massive communities of people that love the game. And it's for anybody whoever, probably mainly as a youngster or a teenager, decided that when their local club or a club was out of a manager, they'd ping off a CV based on their achievements on the game. That and the love of the game of football, you know, I live, breathe and eat the game of football. So, you know, there's lots of little nods to stuff that's gone on in real life, and it's almost like a love letter to the game of football. I actually, when I launched the book, I actually sent an email over to Miles Jacobson, and I got a reply, and he said it's a fantastic idea. He absolutely loves that it's been done, and he'd be keen to know of any more in the series and of how much success it gets.
And he even played FM25 for you?
Not the only manager game out there, but if they're definitely the best that you can buy. I won't go on to the delay of next year's game yet. It's just not talk about that, especially when we're in the second week in November, which is
just touching on that though. I think with the same March, aren't they? I don't see the point of that, because it's end of season. You might as well just write off 25 and then go straight for a September launch with all the new updates and everything.
Yeah, it's a really tough one, because they'll have, obviously, because they're owned in turn by Sega, isn't it? If memory serves me right, it's the actual umbrella company of Sports Interactive. I think that's right in saying that. Yeah. My guess is they'll probably have some agreement they have to release a game every year within a certain time frame. My understanding of it, they've also, frustratingly this year, have got a lot of good features coming into it, i.e. with women's football and the Premier League and all these different things that are getting licensed for. They're going to want to get, you would imagine, some kind of a game out. I'm in the same boat. It's a really awkward time, because then what happens going forward when it comes to 26? Do you then go back to November release dates? Do you keep kind of pushing it forward a bit? Maybe you should do January 26 at that point. Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, you could tell that something wasn't quite right when they'd announced a release date, but yet we hadn't seen any actual shots of the new engine running.
And calling it Ultimate Manager is a nod to a classic old Football Manager game that I played on floppy disk as well, called Ultimate Soccer Manager. That game was mental. You could bung, you could bet. You had the full architecture around the ground. You could put as many burger stands or club shops up. You could set the prices. It was and you had to go on the transfer list on teletext in your manager's office. Yeah, and then you go through to the likes of LMA Manager on the PlayStation, which had the Gary Lineker highlights commentary, and you could build, like, you could have a little tin pot club like Blues with 3 standard stands, and then you could just build like a mammoth fort-tier stand on the one side.
Like Monopoly, just keep going over. It's funny, because the first memory of manager games I have, and I could be in the same boat as you here, Jim, was Premier Manager 98. The PC was the better version. I don't think it correlated very well to console, but was always... Oh, what was the full name? Was it Stuart Taylor?
It's the same as that lad in the early Champmans, wasn't it? From Scotland somewhere. What was his name?
Scott Taylor.
Old, wasn't he?
So I reckon someone of the developers there just went, just stick him 4.5 stars and see if anyone ever notices. But then any save you ever did, you had to buy Scott Taylor. No matter what you do.
Yeah, they talk about him in the Football Manager documentary because he was everyone's go-to cheat code, and in real life he was playing in the lower leagues in Scotland and he never achieved a thing, but if you brought him on Champ Man, he just banged the goal.
Yeah, something like that. Because that's where you have Freddie Adu first coming into fruition.
Geordie comedian who's done a whole standard routine about his obsession with Football Manager, which is great.
Yeah, it was amazing. I can't remember what it was. If there was a mistake, I've watched the documentary, but years ago. Have you ever watched it, Jim? It's very good. Football Manager of My Life, it's called, isn't it? I think.
I love the opening scene with the Geordie bloke, the comedian, because he's standing in Blythe Spartans Stadium, and he's like, "This takes me back to the Champions League nights I had here with Blythe Spartans and all that." And I'm like, mate.
Yeah, but the whole idea is the documentary is about this speaks people again who are just taking it to levels that you could never imagine, and it's taken over in really sweet ways, in sort of poking fun at it, but also in a sort of I'm really quite jealous that you've got that level of integration of a football game into Nintendo. It makes me laugh because it makes me laugh. I mean, we were quite a weird family in the fact that we both played it. We had stepbrothers who played it, and then as still does this day, our stepdad still plays it, who's now turning 70 this year. I haven't got the heart to tell. It normally comes out around his birthday. His birthday's in literally beyond 9 days' time. So you come out, it'd be peak period for him where the game would come out, and I haven't had the heart to tell him yet that it's been. I'm sure he knows it's been delayed so much. But he would be someone who would sit with a notepad. So you get to a Sunday evening. Generally Sunday evenings are. This is a bit. It's not personal, but it's our house. Is he would do a trip of the world, dropping off family members who had been for the visit the weekend. He would come home after Sunday, Super Sunday, and he'd get a little table out, he'd get his laptop out, and he'd sit in the front room for about 3-4 hours with the highlights on or something on in the front room. And he'd make a note. I've never looked in what he must have made a note of. I guess it was results and formations and players and transfers, and he took it way more seriously than I ever did. I never made notepads, so I was never that fully involved in it. But yeah, it was fun. He still plays it.
Back in the days before phones, when I was at school, we used to, if we got bored in lesson in our textbooks, we'd like show off our formations and our players, and then we'd buy the manual and pass it around, because back then you could get a big thick manual and it taught you through everything. Yeah,
it's become its own weird. It's one of the few games I was thinking about this earlier. I own like a PS5 and all the consoles and whatever else, but the age that I'm getting to, I need a game that you can dip in and out of easily, because I can't dedicate hours per night just because life gets in the way. And what I love about it is, again, it's a game that you can save at a certain point, and then you can pick it up a week or two later, and you know exactly where you are. It doesn't leave you behind at all, which I really like.
But what happens if you get in losses? Because me personally, I can't log off on a loss. I've got to keep going until I get that.
If I generally am in the same boat. If I'm on a loss, I can't be logging up. There has been times where it's got to it's 10:30. You gotta go to bed in a minute, and before you know it, it's 3 a.m. because then you got on a winning streak, and you go, well, I can't go to bed in a winning streak because what if that ends? What do you do? But yeah, it's one of the few games my girlfriend kind of goes, so you don't actually play the game, and you go, well, no, but that's what makes it more difficult, because if you can play it, you have more say.
Have you ever done a film where the girlfriend walks in and you're in the office and you're in your best suit?
I've never done the suit. My favourite is still the guy that sat on a stepladder in the back of his office because he had a touchline ban. Yeah. Brilliant. Big fan of that one. It's just one of those games. It's like I say, on the face of it, it's odd how successful it's got. But what makes it so good is that realism or escape from reality, I suppose, in another way of putting it, that you could have. The fact that I've got my game that I'm currently playing at the moment, which is nice because I can dip in and out of it if I'm on a lunch break or if I've got a few quiet. If my work's listening, I don't do this, but I do. If I've got a quiet hour, I'll nip on and play the odd game and just kind of keep it ticking over. The fact that I'm on my 6th Premier League title in a row with Everton is never going to happen in real life. And it's nice to know that in some world somewhere that it has. I mean, I'm on like 2020. What year am I on now? 2037, I want to say. which for me is pretty good going. I've normally, again, depending on how much time I can dedicate to it over a full calendar year, I've stuck with this one pretty well.
In fairness, you don't know with Everton though, because if they get new ownership and they finally get rid of Dyche,
probably not 6 in a row anytime soon. This is it. We're a sleeping giant. Sleeping giant. To be fair, Birmingham City are a pretty good save at the moment. It's a very good save this season.
Yeah, I mean, look at League One. League One record 300 standstill.
It will be. Yeah, with the money available in the squad.
Yeah, it would be an interesting save to do that.
Well, if they have realistic expectations on there, then it'll be a pressure cooker of a job. Because, to say the least, the owners haven't put this money in not to get promoted back straight away, if not then seek.
But that has to be the aim straight away, doesn't it, clearly? Because they're spent big money this summer. A lot of money. So, yeah, I think that's going to be the aim.
Yeah.
That's right. In fairness, there was always a feeling that even that night that he was going to come back to us throughout the whole summer. He top scored last year in a poor side, and at the after dinner awards, he won multiple awards, and he said, "I absolutely love this club. If there's a way for it to happen this summer, I'd love it to happen." And even that night when he scored for Fulham, he didn't celebrate, and there was a feeling of dissent the last we've seen of him. And then, a few days later, we got our man. And by the way, many people outside of Birmingham won't realise that this happened. But it happened late on transfer deadline day, and until the last hour, the word was Fulham weren't letting him go because they wanted to replace him because they didn't have enough stuff going on. So we're all refreshing Twitter more than we ever have in our lives, like every few seconds, and there's no update. Get to 11 o'clock, no news. We thought, maybe it's not happening. Our chairman, Tom Wagner, puts a video on. He's saying, we've had a good transfer window, we got a lot of the targets we wanted, and then we didn't get some, and you thought, here he is, he's building up to the Stansfield thing. Then he pans his phone round, and Stansfield's there, like that. And we're like, hey!
That's proper deadline day. These days, deadline day feels...
But obviously I was...
Yeah, it can feel a bit of an anticlimax, especially Christ as an Evertonian. Christ.
We're going off on a massive tangent here. Well, but the two players I want to... Again, I don't really know how well they've done this season, but they just stood out to me when you time at the time. Forgive me for the pronunciations. Christoph Clara and Willem for Willemson. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Clara, I love him. Solid at the back, reliable, strong, works well with Bielik there. Him and Bielik are a great partnership. But then if one of them are down, you've got Davis, who we got on loan from Rangers. He can come in. He's just as good. So yeah, Clara's reliable. And then 4, I mean, the lad can play football. He can read a game. He's unbelievable. He's got a pass. He's got a finish. He's got the vision. He's an unbelievable footballer. He could have easily got a championship club. And a top-end championship club at that. I mean, there's a number of them that could have, Davis could have gone to a championship club. 4 could have. Who else is there? Iwata, who slipped in under the radar and missed all the Stansfield hype. What a player. And then we've got, we've got an unbelievable squad on paper, an unbelievable depth, which we're going to have to, because we've got an extra cup competition this year. But yeah, bit of a sore point after Saturday. I'm a season ticket holder and not best pleased with Saturday. We got a point against Northampton in a game that I think we had 92% possession at half time, and overall we had something like 60-70%, which has been the case every game this season. And I think it was something like we had 20 or 30 shots on goal, but only 2 or 3 on target. And they offered nothing, to be honest.
23 these Africa.
We just
23 total shots and 3 on target with an XG of 2.72.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They offered nothing really, and I love that we have all that possession and we're creating chances, but we're just not being decisive enough.
Put teams away.
We need to be a bit more clinical. It's no good having all the possession if you ain't going to do anything with it. But hopefully there's a lesson learned. We've got a good young coach, and all the signs so far are positive. And I think it's his first major job, so he's learning on the job. He's also got a deep squad of quality players, so he's having to keep everyone happy as well. But yeah, I think we'll still, over the course of the season, I could see us still being champions.
Yeah, you're finding that the frustrating almost being the team where teams will come and sort of like the bus against you, rather than come out and really play the way you want to play.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams trying to disrupt that, and ironically, their equaliser was in the 97th minute, and the ref only got 7 minutes because they spent the whole game time wasting as much as they could, which was it's not good. And like our goalkeeper got booked in the last 10 minutes for time wasting. Their keeper was doing it from the first blow of the whistle. It's like teams are coming against us, and they're doing all they can just to frustrate us and to waste time and stop. Like, there's a lot of emphasis on the passing movement within our team, and they're just doing all they can to waste time and just slow it down momentum wise and just frustrate the hell out of us.
And we complain about the refs, but I am convinced that the refs are worse the further you go down the division. As much as we like to believe that the refs are, which they are awful at the top.
Quite the way for referees, let's be honest.
I mean, I wasn't really going to talk about that.
What are we going to talk about?
I mean,
big old Dave.
We can, if you want to talk about our Dave, Mr. Coote, if you really wish. But
can I say before we do go on to that subject, we thought the officials in the Championship were poor. League One are awful. The one lineman in front of me on Saturday, he was giving throw-ins to the wrong side when the ball had gone out right in front of him. He was constantly on the halfway line when players were picking it up on 25-30 yard mark, and then he was giving off when it wasn't, and it's dire down at that level. But
I can remember we got a co-host, Deck, who's a Tranmere Rovers fan, and when they were in the like Greg and Rochdale in the National League, and every week, God, the moaning he would do about the state of the officials. It was a bit funny, to be fair, because he kept it every week, but God, it sounded awful in the National League.
But then that wasn't to blame on Saturday as bad as it was. As I said, if we're going to have all that possession and those chances and we can't finish them off, then we've only got ourselves to blame, you know.
For anyone who's not seen it, it appears to be David Coote, from what we believe, sat in a room.
It's highly unprofessional. I mean, it's my understanding that active officials aren't allowed to. They have to be biased, but not biased, basically, and you know. That just breaches that massively.
It appears to me, I mean, let's face it, all the referees are human. They're all going to have some opinion of teams and managers, etc. And I partly feel for him because in the video he does says this video can't go anywhere, and I suppose the argument is now going to be they're going to have to look back at his referee decisions in regards to either Liverpool games or in games that will directly affect Liverpool, and see if there are things where there's a pattern emerging. I don't think there is. I think it's just something that's going to be, unfortunately, in this day and age, taken way above out of context. I mean, you could argue he was telling the truth. You could argue that. I might argue that certain things about Jurgen Klopp, but that isn't the point. But yeah, it's so professional. I'm sure he went in to a meeting this morning with his tail between his legs. UEFA have dropped him, I should say. It's, a moment that he's going to regret heavily. But unfortunately, it does just now allow people to cry conspiracy and say that he clearly didn't want, he supports this team or whatever else. It creates an interesting discussion about referees in the English game. I mean, I saw Stan Collymore, I think it was, on Twitter, mentioning about how this is a time where you could now look at getting...
You saw Stan Collymore on Twitter?
Yeah, I'm not blocked, mate, so unlike some people. Yeah, big old Stan. But he was making the points about you could now bring in European referees, for example. Which is an interesting concept, because you would you would in essence lose potentially any chance of there being a conspiracy, in inverted commas, I shall say. But I don't know if that will ever happen. I don't think it ever needs to happen. I think the travel aspect might be an issue. I don't know. Interesting discussion, though.
Yeah, I think based off of what's been said on the video is he doesn't like Jurgen Klopp from working with him. He finds Klopp arrogant. It's like, no, it's sports.
But there's been clips of Mike Dean, wasn't it, was saying that he was on I've got some podcast, I forget which one it was, and says something on the lines of that he didn't give a VAR decision to give the referee who was on the field that day almost like protect the referee. And you're like, well, yes, it's going to go on. It's a real interesting discussion. I mean, VAR as a concept, we probably have done podcasts about this, and we'll do many more, I'm sure, about things that crop up. For me, all it's mainly done is just magnify the quality of officiating in the Premier League, and English League in general. It doesn't mean to say that it then needs outlawing, or if you got rid of it, it would help, or it would make anything worse, or make anything better. There's a chance for it to grow and to learn. For me, unfortunately, with VAR, the issue is always going to be is they try and quantify the subjective. And in football, there are many, many things that are subjective. The things that aren't work really well. Well, when we get them in the English game, the goal line tech, apart from that one incident at Villa and Sheffield United, has worked flawlessly.
That was
which is
best use of goal line tech.
Amazing, isn't it? But other than that, has worked flawlessly for years. Offsides, when they bring in the semi-automated stuff, or when they've used it in the World Cup, etc., and the Euros, it's worked really, really well. When you have a tackle that, unless it's a really obvious one, the one that referees makes, if it's a bad tackle that then gets either upgraded or degraded, well, that to me should leave that to the referee on the field to make the decision. You shouldn't be then saying, "We've got a better angle at this. Have you seen this?" That's where the issue comes in. But I partly feels for him, because no matter what he does now, you'd argue, will he ever referee in England again? You would hope so, but it's always going to be with the thing of any decision he makes that doesn't go in Liverpool's favour, well, there you go. Or he then kind of overcorrects himself and tries to do too many things that show he isn't biased, and then just looks even more biased in the first place. So, yeah, he's going to feel like an idiot this morning and realise that this conversation he's had however long ago and when it's been is probably going to cost him any credibility that he had. But, yeah, it's a mad story when it cropped a bit.
It's a bit of a Sam Allardyce all over again.
Of course it is. Yeah,
100%. Filmed on the down low and caught with his pants
exactly.
down.
It's unfortunately one of those. I mean, Big Sam, the only manager in England history, 100% winning record. He can go out on that if he wants. Speaking of England teams, I mean, it's again another international break. Why, I don't know, but here we are. But yeah, David Guru, hopefully there's a bit of common sense of the whole situation, and they go, slap on the wrist, look, you admitted fault, we'll avoid you from Liverpool games, etc. And maybe he starts in the lower leagues and kind of works his way back up, just get your confidence back, as they do occasionally. But yeah, bless him, he's not in for an easy couple of weeks until this all blows over.
Sorry for joining the recording late, gents. I'll jump in on this one. I feel really sorry for him, actually. I think he's had a few or more, you could say. There could be something else involved. You don't know. But I feel really sorry for him. It's sort of, I don't know. You can just see he's not vulnerable, but you can see something's sort of going on there, can't you, in his mind? He's had a few. He feels like he's in, I don't know, maybe he thinks he's in a safe space to be able to talk about something like that. I don't know. It seems very... I don't know, you would have to think you would be okay to say something like that, as well as
he's clearly aware of what he's doing, because he says, please make sure this video sees the light of day. He's clearly aware of what's going on. Take it as a joke.
True. I think it's the other guy that's released it that should be slapped on the wrist, really, because he's got the camera in his face. It's... I don't know if David's actually... I know he's got his phone out and showing the photo of James Milner and what have you, and that's nothing, is it, really? But... I don't know. He's not the one really in charge of the recording, but on the flip side, he could just say to him, "Stop recording," I guess. Or can you not do that? Or depends. It's a tough one. I do feel sorry for him. Because surely he will have frustrations as a referee or as a linesman or an official. They'll all have frustrations, and they will all be venting behind the scenes at home to the parents, the family, their friends. They will be venting. Maybe not the friends, but there will be aspects of that where they go, "Do you know, such a body, Keith Hill was a right pain in the arse today," or whoever, Tony Brooks, whoever, I don't know, was a pain in the backside, and they will vent about these things. So it will be a norm to him possibly to vent about these things in private, and he's probably just, I don't know if he's forgotten his environment. I'm not too sure, but yeah, it would be a shame. I know it's not great that he said these things, but you know, players, managers will be venting about referees. The referees will be venting about them behind closed doors. It's just a shame that it's got out there, I think, personally. But
I mean, it's a thankless job that he's got, that any referee's got in any league, let's be honest, because it's not very often we ever come out of a game and go, you know what, the referee was bloody brilliant there. There's always, you know, there was a decision that didn't go your way, or they added on too much time, or didn't add enough time on, or whatever. Some reason you can give. We all moan about referees. I've done it. And I get it. If you've got a manager screaming, bellowing in your face, there's going to be a part of you that's going to go, all right, I won't say the word he used, but if he imagines the word I'm going to say, you know, almost like leave me be. You know, I'm just here to do a job, and I'm here to do, you know, my part of it as much as you're here to do your part of it. Do I believe there's a big conspiracy in referees? No, because every team gets a bad decision in it. I won't say it balances us out, but in the grand scheme of things, everyone gets their even share, you could argue, in the same way that we also get some decisions that go in our favour. If it does come out there is a big conspiracy, fair play, but it's unlikely, let's be honest.
He's surely he's got to be. There can't be many officials that have been caught doing something like this. I know you've mentioned, obviously, Big Sam to a different angle, if you will. But it's probably going to. There's probably going to be more of this in the future, isn't there? There's going to be. It could be James Miller. It could be somebody else. It could be a player next time. But it's just the case that everyone's got a phone, haven't they? It's almost as if everyone's got surveillance. You could say now on the camera phones. Everybody's got that. Talking 30 years ago, we didn't. Do you know, now this is how it is. But I think we're going to see more of this.
It's more. It's not a case of. I don't think you're going to see more. I mean, he's clearly in a situation where he feels relaxed enough to speak to someone candidly about the job that he does. Which, Christ, we've all done that. I do that on a daily basis, sat at home. But I also know that if it ever came out to management and whatever else, things that I said, yeah, it wouldn't look good. Whether you can sit there and say that it's going to happen again, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a meeting, or there would have been one today. PGMOL and whatever else they've all said to these. There's been probably a memo going out and say, just be careful what you're saying. We get the fact you're going to say some things. Perhaps don't do it with a camera in your face, with a chance that this video might come out. You know, just be smart in who you're moaning to. Maybe moan to the wife. Don't moan to a mate of yours who somehow, some ways, then got it released. You know, it's unfortunate. It's given a fan base every reason now to believe that they should have won more league titles. Even blaming a decision, the Rodri handball against Everton, of which David Coote was not even on that game at all. What's his name? Kavanagh was the VAR. So there you go. How quickly misinformation can spread is quite hilarious in social media. But there you go. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking if they'd said to me that, you know, if they come out and said that Sean Dyche was a CUNT and hates Everton,
I hate Everton, so I mean, you know,
because I hate Everton most days as well.
Nothing new there.
I'd probably join in. You'd have a statue at the new ground if you said that, I imagine. You never know. Yeah, I can say it from Liverpool fans, you know, it just doesn't look good. But I don't think you could automatically straight jump. Well, people will, because
I think perhaps the fact they're doing so well this year and at the moment look look likely to be this year's champions, barring a miracle. I think that'll soften the blow a little bit with them.
David Coote returns midway through the season, like the Undertaker.
Yeah.
There'll be a dong.
There better not be a dong.
Bong. David Coote returns on VAR.
That sounds like some sort of WWE storyline, doesn't it? You could
That's exactly. There you go, Greg. Nail on the head.
the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he's just going to fly in with it and say, "I'm refereeing this match."
Comes in with Rodri on one leg.
Once he referees,
But he won't,
Yeah.
he won't have a problem doing Liverpool now because that gentleman that he alluded to ain't there no more.
That's true.
Maybe he'll like, aren't he?
Yeah,
I did see someone tweet hilariously. I saw a tweet that said, "Oh, Jurgen's going to be laughing from his £1 million." Like, what? Like Klopp's going to be arsed.
He's not gonna
Like
be
Klopp's
bothered,
going
is
to give
he?
a shit whatsoever.
no.
Klopp's there going, "Yeah, I probably was being one."
be
For
amazing.
the Red Bull, that is a
Red Bull never goes down well in Germany.
No, it hasn't.
it doesn't.
No, does not give you wing.
Well, you think the way he's gone down, he's going to be on the touchline. What people don't realise is it's an office job.
He's up in the
This is
Ivory
it.
Towers.
He's not going to be on the touchline in any capacity, is he? He's going to be in the boardroom, maybe, and that's about it. He's just going to be.
I bet he's taking over Red Bull's F1 team from Christian Horner.
It would, and the speed the cars go at it suit him to the bone because he loves his fast and well stuff, doesn't he?
I would actually pay money to see that.
Oh, what's his name? Not Steve. What was his name? Steve. What's his name? Steve. He had a like Baumgartler something type of second name, but I know what you mean.
The next time we have their air contest, you know, where the planes do all the flips and go through the obstacles,
Yeah.
just look at one of the planes and Klopp's in the cockpit smiling. He's not
We
off.
could run with this, couldn't we? We could absolutely run with this.
Jurgen's there for the social media campaign.
I'd pay money to see some sort of all the top flight managers around the world, Jurgen Klopp. I mean, you could just say characters, Mourinho, Chuck Mourinho, in like a wacky races type of situation. They've all got a strange car.
Like what? It's a knockout. Sean Dyche.
Pep Guardiola.
And Dyche should be in the Skoda.
Yeah, but
Why not?
Oh, Skoda's a bit.
A boring old, but does the job just about Skoda.
Skoda's a bit exotic for Sean Dyche. It would be a Rover 75. I'm going to go for
Renault Espace.
Renault. It's French. Nah, Rover. Got to be Rover 75. Be that or an old MG.
I was more thinking about the car salesman from Mike Bassett that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. That'll be the day. Such a good film.
Oh, the fucking hell's it awful.
He's got the control of a Renault Espace. I used to love that. That film's fantastic. We need to do an episode just about Mike Bassett and the TV series that there was out there as well. Was he?
Yeah, but the TV series was distinctly average compared to the film. That's just. Yes, you've never seen it.
I've got rose-tinted glasses on that one. Long time ago. Very long time ago.
Well United.
I think they were sponsored by, was it Wirral Rubbish, the recycling?
Well, to be fair, didn't they have...
They were supposed to be...
Tranmere did have, for a little while, the recycling centre, wasn't it, as the sponsor? Was it
They
World
did have. They
Council?
did have. They were sponsored by B&M for a while.
B&M, that was
Not
it.
B&M. B&M
Yeah.
Waste. I think it was like
Not B&M Bargains.
Centre. Not B&M Bargains. No, they were sponsored by a local.
Well, is it World Council that sponsored them for as long as I can remember?
World Council sponsored them from the 80s to about.
I think they did.
2012 maybe
That's really weird to have your local council sponsor your football team.
in the world. Yeah, I know.
I know Bury Council sponsored Bury Football Club for Yonks. That was one
Did they?
thing. I don't think Rochdale Council sponsored us.
Hang on, you have a council. Why do you have a council in Rochdale?
Just about. Oh, God. It's terrible. As long as they don't hear this,
Anyway.
but yeah.
What are they going to do? Cast you out? What does they don't hear this? Also, Greg, you don't live in Rochdale anymore. You live in...
Well, yeah, my mum and dad will get charged more for collecting, I don't know, putting the rubbish out, something like that. That should be a whole episode, not about rubbish, about sponsors on shirts. That would be quite an interesting one. Sponsors on shirts.
Barcelona were sponsored by themselves, weren't they, for a little while?
Yes. I
Technically.
think one of the most bizarre ones we had was all-in-one garden centre with a watering can in the middle.
Nice.
Just why not? Just why not?
There's a podcast, not said about people sponsoring themselves, but just random kits.
Random stuff.
Because you must be able to find a few. English football,
Wolves had Doritos Spice.
yeah, of course.
They did.
They did have Doritos Spice.
Oh yeah.
Matched the colour of the shirt. It was like the perfect marriage.
I remember we played against them during those days. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Everton having Chang for over many years was fucking odd. And Keijan? Wow. What were Keijan, can I ask? What was Keijan?
Chinese telecommunications company.
Oh, Chinese? I thought you were Italian. I was like, why the hell are we saying Chinese players? They're Italian?
Yeah, anyway, we're going off on a massive tangent here.
Oh, hang on. We can bring it back in. Carl, what sponsor would the side on your shirt have? What's your dream? See that? See, I fit that back in.
Well done.
Well done, guys. You're welcome.
Okay, so I didn't specify a sponsor in the first book, but the second one that I'm working on, they've got a sponsor called Winvest, who are an investment company.
Nice.
And they have involvement with the club without giving too much of a spoiler away, and they become the front of shirt sponsor, and they're going to be on the iconic third kit that I order.
Ooh.
When the second book's ready for promotional reasons.
Any referee scandals?
I think there's some VAR checks, not so much scandals.
Okay. No David Coos talk about how much he hates sponsors.
I tend to add in things that happen in real life and that I like. So the second book's not quite finished yet. It's near enough there, so I might be able to just about squeeze in a bit of a controversial referee moment, perhaps.
Guys, as we're talking about like football manager and that, but also just to share from your best football manager or indeed championship manager football video game saves that you've had. Any particular legendary seasons or stories or anything at all that you're particularly proud of, that you know, this is a safe space to share your greatest achievements in life with us all.
My one's going to be this one I've got in this season. 6 Premier League titles in a row. We've just won the league title with 107 points. Annoyingly lost one game.
Are you Everton, Matt?
One game. I am Everton. Yeah,
you could take the editor data on.
No, I can. I will share my screen and prove otherwise. For all I care.
You say something then. You're doing something.
Absolutely not. No, we've just got. I mean, we were taken over by Tycoon. I guess 2032, something like that. I've lost count. Record signing. I'm pretty sure is Lamine Yamal at 310 million. Which is money well spent, who has now won the 5th Ballon d'Or in a row, I want to say.
Wow.
Champions League, not as good. Sort of I've won 3, I think, in about 14... What are we on? Yeah.
See, 13, I was going to say that's
years?
Good until you said 14.
What, 14 years?
Yes, I didn't realise until...
Yeah, is it 3 or 4?
But then...
Who's running up to you? Who's running up to you?
United are up there. City have fallen away heavily. Not like getting relegated. They're sort of top 8. They're nowhere near what they once were. Liverpool. What the finish? It was. Wow. We finished top. United 2nd. Arsenal 3rd. Liverpool 4th. I did look at this earlier. I want to say Wolves finished 5th.
Wow. Gee up.
I've had Bristol City have been in the Premier League for a random season. Trying to think of the things that spring to mind.
Yeah.
About other random things. The squad, I mean, I'm at the point now where it's mainly... other question for you, Carl. Is it new gen or regen?
Oh, okay. I tend to call it regen.
I've heard new gen as well. I always think now regen just sounds better. Yeah, the side is mainly... There's about a few players, I think, that are still actually real. Yeah, your Mal's the most obvious one. Who's the keeper? Is it Restes? I think he's real. I can't remember. But yeah, it's just
after a while, I just forget what's real and what's like regens.
Yeah,
and you start wondering why real life managers haven't brought on your regens, and it's like, but they don't exist.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the person we won the league title. We won the league title this season. We've beaten Arsenal's unbeaten run by 1 game. So we got 50 games unbeaten, and then lost away at Wolves in this season, which is really annoying.
They keep popping up, Wolves. They keep popping up.
Yeah, Wolves are a bit of a bogey team. Yeah, won the FA Cup this season, and then I think we won the league, and they gave them a budget for next season. And it was £378 million I had to spend, of which I need no one. I'm in my situation where I was looking at my team going, I don't need anyone. I don't have to buy anyone.
Luxury.
So I'm thinking I might just go out and spend... I might just go and spend £3 million just because I can at this point.
Sorry, Matt, for a question, just briefly, if that's okay. We thought about spending more time with Heather.
A lot of this is done whilst I'm working, I'll be honest. Sorry, my employers, if they listen. There's a bit of a quiet time, and you go, well, I've played a few games. You'd be surprised what you can get through in a few hours. But then you realise you've done no work for the day.
But you have done. You've done some work. You've won the Champions League with Everton, and you've put Wolves away 3-0.
Not the work they paid me
your
for.
employer that remain nameless. That you've won the league that 6 years in a row, and they'll all be forgiven.
Yeah, not the work they paid me for, but that isn't the point.
Yeah,
we
any particular.
I still get what I need to do done, and just happened to score. I think he scored 155 goals this season as well, which is we averaged 4 goals a game, which is we're
entertaining.
Annoyingly, the Champions League we got knocked out in the round of 16 against Bayern over 2 legs, and that really annoyed me because we're better than the round of 16. The players got really pissed off because we got knocked out. Had to go at me, even at that point we were about 18 points clear in the league. I'm like, hang on a minute, this is clearly your fault that we lost. But that's all smoothed over. Quite straight in the Champions League. The fact that we won pretty much we didn't win the League Cup.
I've seen some
stuck the kids out for the League Cup.
Yeah.
But I think I'm at the point that the only thing I need to do now really is either go a season unbeaten and all win everything, i.e. every competition you're in.
Like, are you saying you then become Jason in between us?
I would have completed it, mate. I would have
completed it, mate.
But what I might do that because I've got there's going to be probably another 3 months before the new game comes out. I might just start something else, just do something a bit different. I don't know what yet. I'm thinking for Dex purposes, I might look at Tranmere, see if I can get them up the leagues from League 2 to the Premier League. But we'll have to wait and see.
Any particular say, Paul, that really resonate with you that you've done?
It would probably be an England save I did where I was in charge for a nice decade. I went in at day one and scrapped a load of the older figures that typically underperform in real life. Looked to the youth setup, put a load of youngsters in there, changed the whole England backroom setup so that it was all ex-capped internationals for England. And in the decade, the last 6 years we went unbeaten. Won back-to-back World Cups, won a Euros, won the special game they have every year where the winner of the South American version of the Euros play the winner of the European games. And it was a hell of a decade. Made Jude Bellingham captain on day one, and he was with me for most of my tenure. And I got Harry Kane the highest ever scorer over that, and I got him over 100 caps as well. Just about. He was an impact 10-minute player by the end, but I just about nursed him over the 100 cap. So it was an interesting save, probably the one that stands out the most. And I always like to do an England save, and I'm a little bit gutted I won't be able to in the new one, to be brutally honest.
What's the reason there?
So are you aware the backstory of what's going on, Jim or Greg, in this year's game?
No idea. No.
So the reason is they're changing, and Carl, feel free to jump in and correct me if I'm being wrong at this point, but they're changing the engine the game runs on. It's been moved over to Unreal, is it called? I want to say, top of my head.
Oh, Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this was announced, 2 years ago, easily, that they picked out FM25 as the game where they were going to do this big changeover, and clearly it's been problematic, i.e. to get the game, hence why the delay is until March of next year. And they've taken quite a few features out. So International Moment is one of them because they want to get it to a better standard, which I appreciate. Whether it needs to be taken out to be improved on is an argument you could definitely have.
The other one that they decided was a major removal that they needed to announce was the fact that you can't search for a player by weight. I literally don't think I've ever done that.
I've been able to build like a height, which is a bit awkward. But I did see that one and think
it's something I've never even thought about.
I didn't know you could.
Exactly. You can still search by height if that helps. If you want a team of 6'8" people, be my guest, but still. But that was a weird omission that they announced.
I suppose if you're looking for a petite little winger who can be rapid as anything, then weight might come into it. But I've never done a weight search.
Yeah, like I need to play who's 13 stone and over. Yeah, people must have done. Fair enough. Maybe that's where I've been going wrong all these years. Maybe if I could have been winning Champions Leagues earlier, if I'd searched by weight. But yeah, there you go. Well,
It'd be a proper like Sunday League side, wouldn't it? I'd be all about that. It'd be like a Carlsberg advert or something, Carlin, whatever you call it.
Just pure muscle.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a strange one that they actually announced they were missing it. It was like, okay, probably could. One of the things where they probably could have missed it and never noticed. Put it that way, but they felt they needed to say it, which is fair enough.
What's the
I suppose. But yeah, this is a big issue with the delay this year. This is why it's been pushed back to, at the moment, March. We'll wait and see if we get a game this year.
Yeah.
So it's going to be on the rendered on the Unreal Engine, is that right? Graphics, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
So I've not played FM for a long time. Is it still text based?
No.
No.
It can be.
Wow.
Oh, sorry. I get what you mean.
So it's like so the Unreal Engine is because they want to get Mourinho's face as accurate as possible. Is that why it's on the Unreal?
It's not necessarily that. The graphics have always felt, in comparison to, I mean, it's difficult to compare and contrast, but if you take what's it now called, FC, EA Sports games, it's never been their type of graphics, but that for me, that's never been an issue because I never wanted it to be as authentic as that, you could argue. But at the same time, there has been times you look at the gameplay and you go, yeah, it is looking a little bit old in comparison to what it maybe could be. But they're hoping that this is going to increase the look of it, but still keep
its
the feel of how it currently looks, but without going just an improvement, but not by like changing the complete look of the game. And the early screenshots, people were a little bit like, "Oh, this is a bit of a change that might take a while to get used to." Yeah, because they want to start bringing in new animations and making the gameplay look a little bit more realistic.
I suppose as well, in terms of the realistic animations, till now they've only ever worked with men playing, whereas if you're introducing the women, they can move differently, obviously, so, you know, they've got to add that in as well.
So I can see why the change was happening. Like I said, this has been in the works for, a couple of years, easily. I think it was 23, 22 they announced it. It was quite a while ago they announced them making the changeover. They've had a bit of backlash over the launch of this one because they announced a release date, started taking pre-orders, and then a week later, I think it was, they delayed it, which is a little bit... Yeah, if you knew the game wasn't going to be out in November, you shouldn't really be taking pre-orders, which I mean, it's fine. You can cancel and get refunds, it's not a problem. But they've got to get the launch right when it comes because so they're walking the front. There's always going to be players that will play it. I would always buy the game as long as there's people that work on the game that are passionate about it. But I can see, Carl's point earlier about could you not delay it until 26 or end of 25? Maybe they will. I think they're lucky that they've got 24, which is such a good game so far that people have still got enough reason to stick around and play that for the time being.
I'm going to say, just on a point, sorry, is there an edit patch for like the new season as well, so you can download on the M24 and play 20? Sports
and Draft themselves won't release one because of licensing reasons and a lot of different reasons, but there's tons of third-party ones that are all, like 120,000 transfers have been done and all the players. So yeah, if I really wants to, I could, if I wanted to now, go and get edit data from somewhere else and start this season or last year's game, which is again they've got that working in their favour as well. Whereas if this happened with EA Sports, for example, if they tried to do FC 24 every 2 years, it might be a bit more awkward. But they're lucky that they've got a good game this year, as in 24. That there's enough to keep people playing. Definitely.
I suppose it's one thing in terms of delaying it and ironing out all the creases in terms of... I always remember when No Man's Sky came out, this is a completely different game altogether, but it was buggy as anything, it was patchy and the graphics weren't right. And even with I can't think of wrestling games have been patchy recently in terms of buggy and the arms are not quite there. And I think it's maybe not a bad thing that it's being delayed on a sort of game level, because you can eliminate all those errors. You got a bit more time to sort of beautify everything a little bit more. But I've seen it where games they're released and you think, oh my god, what's going on here? And then it's patch update, such an update, such things coming through, and you go, okay. And it sort of trickles in almost as if how they wanted it to look almost. That's definitely the case with No Man's Sky. A few of my friends play that and go, oh, it's better now than it ever has been. But I still don't have the heart to. I sold it years ago, so I don't really know if I want to be dipping back into it. But apparently it's okay, you know. But that's something. That's definitely something, because you can only imagine, especially a strong fan base of a franchise like FM, if it did come out and there was so many errors with it, or it looked completely off. There's only going to be backlash. I know there's negativity now in terms of it's going to be late, XYZ, but might not be a bad thing. And
I've noticed as well, they've made 24 completely free to play now, haven't they?
Yeah, on
sort of consolidate.
Also, it's funny you said about the wrestling games, Greg. They've made an announcement on next year's today, haven't they?
Have they?
They're going back to Raw v SmackDown.
Oh, are they?
Interesting.
I haven't bought a wrestling game for years. I might have to treat myself to one next year.
I've not had one for a long time.
Didn't they go every 2 years?
They were every year?
But every year still?
Yeah.
They were every year, and then they didn't make 2K22, I think, or 2K21.
Yeah, I think you've seen this in recent years where companies, there's clearly pressure to release a game on a certain day, and they almost use the early release period as like alpha and beta testing, which is just ridiculous. I mean, the one that springs to mind was the GTA, what do they call it, Definitive Edition, which was hilariously named when they released it, because it wasn't definitive in the fucking slightest. And it was a mess. It was an absolute. I mean, and again, it's improved a lot. I completed it in recent months, but yeah, when it first came out, you saw the videos and it was just horrendous. It was like,
this time next year is going to be insane, because you'll have the new FIFA, you'll have a new Football Manager around the corner, and I think they've said October 25th is going to be GTA.
Oh wow!
Can't wait. I might have to take a week off work.
Yeah,
it's going to.
I might have to buy a PS5.
Yeah, you and Jamie have to buy a PS5. You haven't got a PS5. Yeah. What I might do?
No, I've got a Switch.
If what I might do, Jim, at that point, I might be at the point where I'm looking to get either the Slim or the Pro. You can have my hand-me-down PS5, maybe.
Okay. Well, have you ever created Slumford Town in FM?
Yes. I did it around the launch of the book, and I did a live Twitch. It went awful, because obviously I got drafted with some bang average players, and to be authentic, I tried to use the tactics out of the book that I come up with, and I was just getting beaten game after game. But then you could argue they're in a relegation battle. That's true to life. So there you go.
I'm going to go back and see if I can find those recordings. That sounds amazing, but
it's on my TikTok as well. I posted it on my TikTok as well. I was coming up with like book marketing ideas, and I just thought, right, why don't I create Swampford on FM and do a live stream?
Yeah, that's class. I did wonder. I thought, I'm sure he must have done this. At least it was realistic.
I replaced Sheffield United.
Didn't we all? Even we beat them. Yeah. Oh no. Does anyone remember the fella got a job at FK Baku in Azerbaijan? Who'd been in the division for about 20 years at that point. They got relegated that year, funnily enough. There was a guy as well in 2021, a fella called Shadab Iftikhar, who got a job, played Championship manager as a kid, took over his own school team in year 11, and became manager of the Highland League side Fort William at 31, which makes me feel really, really old that he was managing at 31.
Wow. I believe I read somewhere as well, Andre Villas-Boas had roots in it as well.
Yeah.
Obviously he was an ex-player, but I think the story goes something along the lines of, after playing, he was like a complete nut on Football Manager, like he'd devote hours to it. And he lived in the same apartment block as Sir Bobby Robson. and he used to pepper him on his way into his house and go, "Oh, your team did this wrong tactically last week. Try this and try that." And I think he recruited him as an analyst or something. He ended up being his assistant and then having to go himself.
Isn't it? And now he's like having a Porto now or something. It's like
I know Everton said they had links with the database, and there's a few Premier League clubs eventually started to use it. But I know Everton were, if not one of the first, to actually make a point of saying, yeah, we do use actually the database that.
Two timelines, one impossible mystery. Life is Strange Double Exposure follows Max Caulfield as she shifts between two timelines to solve a supernatural murder mystery after finding her friend Safi dead in the snow. In this parallel timeline, Safi is still alive and still in danger. With her new power, can Max solve and prevent the same murder? Buy Life is Strange Double Exposure, available now on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC. Rated M for mature.
I think a lot of clubs have come out saying they're leaning upon it, whether it's to expand the scouting networks. I suppose if you load a full database and you may be a lower league club, like Prem below, and you haven't maybe got the resources to send your scout out to South America or somewhere like that, then you can initially look up a lad on FM and decide whether he's worth commissioning the journey to watch.
But yes, it's why clubs are clearly using it. It's a what is so good about it is because a lot of it's in-person people obviously around the world who then feed all back in. Must be the biggest scouting network you can possibly get for whichever cost it is. I'm not sure how the whole system works, but the player, it's always been good when you see players that come through on the game who then go on and do. I think Messi was one of the players again when he was. In the Barca Academy that was picked up early on, it was like he's going to be the next big thing. Obviously,
he was to be. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a story in the documentary, isn't there, where Alex McLeish, when he was at Rangers, his sons were players, and they went to him and they said, "Dad, you need this lad. Like he's like 15 at Barcelona and he's unbelievable. Like try and get him." And McLeish says eventually, after them nagging me and showing me how well he'd done on their game, I called Barca and they said, "We'll have a look at it, we'll get back to you next week." And he made his first team debut for Barca that weekend.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah, it's not happening."
Yeah, no, it's all right. Sorry, Alex. That's what's so good about it. It's great when you hear about players that start to come through and there's that thing of this nod of community going, "Yeah, we saw him a couple of years ago. Yeah. We saw he was coming through." And again, with there's certain players who are like going to be the next big thing, and then forget anywhere near what they're supposed to be on the game.
My dad knows. Me and my dad are season ticket holders at Blues, and he knows that I'm like an FM addict. And every time we sign somebody that he hasn't heard of, he's like, "Do you know anything about this lad from FM?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's handy on there, He's like,
2 stars, does the job, yeah." Yeah, it's mad thing. It's great because it is such that. What makes the game so good and what makes it so popular is the fact that, again, if you want to, you can load up leagues even from anywhere and just create random things. Some of the. I've never gone as far as people that try and take San Marino to the top of the international rankings. That kind of level. That's fair play. That's dedication that I just obviously can't put into the game. But yeah, some of the stories and YouTube videos you see of people that do all these different things. It is great to listen to and great to watch.
Absolutely.
What's up, the Scottish fella, by the way? Mark Kerr, is it the guy you're thinking of? The Scottish wonder kid?
Mark Kerr.
Manager Mark Kerr.
Absolute hero.
What a guy. I don't actually know what he did in his career. I'm going to have to look.
What could have been?
Next to nothing. Lower leagues in Scotland. Next to nothing.
Yeah.
He was an error in data entry, and he just became an absolute cheat code. You signed him and he banged goals in for fun.
Yeah. So Falkirk, Dundee United, Aberdeen for a couple of years, fair play. Athros, Tripolis in the Greek League, then back to Dunfermline, Dundee again, Partick Thistle, Queen of the South, Falkirk and Ayr United. So not much to write home about. Just back to lower league Scottish football, of course. And he even has his Wikipedia, it's got a thing about him being an absolute hero and Championship manager in the early 2000s. It's amazing. So yeah, he won the Scottish First Division in 2003. So McKay never really made the potential, but yeah, what a legend, at least in that universe, if not in this one. Mark, one of many wonder kids who didn't quite make the grade.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, you had like Freddie Adu, who was an absolute hero on it, but it never happened in real life.
There's definitely.
There's so many. I remember signing Georgian forward, is it Levan Metablidze or something in FM 2010, thinking he was going to be the big thing. And I don't think I actually heard him in real life. I think he ended up playing for like Dynamo Tbilisi, and that's about it. But, yeah, so many that you think, find this guy, keep an eye out for him, and then Vadi Sajid Otto being one I seem to remember for a year or two. When we were linked with him, I was dead excited, and then he just ended up to be relegation fodder.
And it can happen the other way around, because with my last Birmingham City save, we've got a striker called Lucas Djukovic. And in real life, he's alright. He might give you 5-10 goals a year off a corner with his head. But the year we were in the Championship, I got them promoted, and he scored 25 goals. It's like, I don't think he's ever done that in any year in his career, but he's 25 from our Birmingham team, so like, it can go the other way.
I've watched a lot of Lucas Djukovic in my time. Fair play. Amazing. Oh no. So, yeah, unless there's any other business, lads, then we'll maybe do a little cheeky plug and then wrap up for the evening, unless there's anything else you want to put, or any other topics, any other business.
I'll just quickly go through the scores, and then we can wrap up. Absolutely. Deck will be happy. Deck will be happy. Tranmere winning. Sorry, they've won 2-0. Stockport County away, so that'll be nice. That'll be a nice little win for Tranmere Rovers. Oh no, sorry, is it in the EFL Cup there?
EFL Trophy.
Greg, and I'm hoping you're going to come to it. Shrewsbury and Walsall.
It's in the. There it is.
Oh, okay.
Shrewsbury.
Well, what do you reckon?
Well, put it this way, I think if Walsall don't win, or if Shrewsbury win, one of the connotations, Birmingham get top of their group, which means we get a home leg in the next round.
Walsall won 3-0.
Walsall 3-0, sorry, yes. Yeah,
sorry. Away it is. Yeah.
So you're Birmingham a second with the looks of it there?
Yeah, so that'll be later.
Yeah, I thought that was the... It's a strange one, isn't it? We spoke about this a couple of episodes ago with Chris Jackson, who's a Darlington fan. So there is a version of this competition that is conference sides and you could say Premier League and sort of your Blackburns and whatever, or local-ish sides. But it was only sort of the inception of that was it only came about in September. So like a month or two into the season, and everyone like, what are we doing? Why have we got a new competition? So that was a bizarre one. But at least people know what this competition is, at least. But yeah, Wrexham 1-0 Port Vale, that's in the same competition. I don't think there's a lot, other than the EFL Trophy. I don't think there's a lot going on this afternoon, actually, evening.
It's international break.
Is it already started? Fair enough. Right, I'm not...
Yeah, all the England players, everyone incredibly who's playing for England who plays for one of the top four clubs is injured.
They all clock in on Monday, so you don't even have a Monday night game.
Gosh. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I went on the BBC Sport app yesterday to see what games were in the evening. The only one was like Hampstead Rovers or someone versus...
Yeah.
I mean, hashtag United are playing...
It's all going off. Lewis won, Bognor Regis won. Carl, where can we find your book? And also, any plug or anything else you want to shout out while you're here?
No, just the book. It's available on Amazon. Game Changer from Pixels to Pictures. And the second one should be along early next year, I'm hoping, by the summer at the very latest.
I've got the book, Carl. Thank you very much for you're on the Project Football podcast with Mark.
Greg, if you want to read it in the next 3 days, I go on a holiday on Sunday, so I won't...
One of the reviews on Amazon, and I've heard similar from people that have bought it off me in person, it's like they read it almost in one sitting because they weren't able to put it down, so it bodes well for your borrowers.
Better than Greg. Olivia can get into it.
Absolutely.
Read a lullaby at night.
That's what we'll do. I'll try and get it to you, Matt, if I can. Hey, I bought her a Barcelona kit the other day off Vinted for £3. Slightly too big for her, but she will get...
Where's the Dale kit?
They're about 50 quid. They're about 44 quid. Yeah.
Okay, now.
Well, I mean, I've got the Barcelona off Vinted, obviously. You can't really... There's not many toddler kits on Rochdale based on Vinted, unfortunately.
Yeah, niche market, fair enough.
Oh,
Niche.
really?
Very niche.
It's quite niche. Admittedly, it's up there with Hamster Keith against Lewis on FOTMOB. Neat. So yeah. Anyway, nice one. So then, if there's nothing further, gentlemen, then whether your team is playing in real life or on Football Manager, just remember it's only a game. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Fantastic.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Cheers.
Take care.
Bye bye.